Good morning, beloved Earth Angels. Today we're Uriel was having a joke with me yesterday. A few days ago, we dropped down Uriel's injunction or Uriel's invitation to maintain your force field of positivity in the face of viciousness and negativity. And he laughingly said they may need some help with that. Or more appropriately, I may need some help for that. So I've deconstructed the practice a little bit and we'll go through that. So welcome. And if you have a calling to do this, please balance your enthusiasm and your dedication with lightness. There are pitfalls. Being human is not easy. And so to get this right, there are ways to get it right that don't look like full success. And there are some substitutions, and there are some things that we should be weary of, and we'll go over all those things. We're going to start with the injunction one more time. Uriel is the angel of strength and ministration in this deck. And when you call out, God help me, he shows up to help you. At some point, if you are an earth angel or if you want to be a better human being, then his injunction or his invitation may be appropriate for you. Here it is. Uriel seeks people who are open to receive his love and protection, then pass it on when needed. Practice anchoring yourself in a love that is strong enough to withstand the influence of negativity and viciousness. When you can maintain your force field of positive energy with certainty, you become a radiating center of light, available at any time to assist the angels in helping your earthly brothers and sisters. Become a master of your energies and enter into this loving service. So, of course, we're not going to set the intention to do this and have it work perfectly. Doesn't work that way. Spiritual practice is about growth, it's about evolution, it's about practice, and it's about incremental accruing of the benefits over time. So the first deconstruction is let's look at what's a successful version of using love to hold a force field of positivity. In your mind's eye, you might have a saint-like image where someone comes in like Jesus or Mother Mary or Buddha and just their compassion just wipes everybody clean, and there's no everything is taken to that state of divine love. And most likely you're not going to start there, and if you get there a few times in your life, then celebrate, but don't sweat it if your practice of this doesn't look like that every time. So Uriel was asking me to break this down into basically 5 levels of success. And the first is that version of love or compassion where you're in the face of viciousness, you're in the face of negativity, and you manage to maintain your center. You maintain your connection, you maintain and you're able to act appropriately, whatever acting appropriately looks like. The second, he's calling equipoise. And so the operative word here is poise. If you are in a circumstance where some viciousness or negativity or harm might normally potentially trigger you, and you're able to meet it in steady state, and you're able to not react, you're able to practice the pause, you're able to not be triggered. And in those moments of grace, you call up gratitude, and it's a sign of fruits of practice when that happens. Right below that is the defend yourself. And so in the last video, we talked about being slimed, where someone comes in and they're having a bad attitude, they're having a bad day. You don't descend to their level. You don't, and bless them, we're all equal in the eyes of the divine. We've all had bad moments. We've all potentially slimed other people, and forgive it and move on mostly. But if you're in the moment where you're trying to maintain a force field of positivity and you need some help, one of the success factors is I managed to say no thank you to somebody else's trauma, to somebody else's projection, to somebody else's broadcasting of a rough moment. We're going to hop to the 5th one. The 5th is a fail, a clear fail, where you get angry, you get upset, you are triggered, or you become critical, or you become snarky, or you in a circumstance where you're pushed to your edge, you don't come up with love and compassion, you essentially fail. The 4th is right above that, when you in that blessed moment where you catch yourself being overwhelmed, having a bad reaction, being in a world of hurt, and you send up a snorkel to heaven, and you say, hey, I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm practicing. Help. And then Uriel can help. And so for some people, the image of a snorkel, where you're breathing in the clean light of heaven, the clean oxygen of the divine, and you're protected from the world of hurt that we find ourselves in. Perfect. So of those 5 stages, you may hit stage 1 or 2 routinely or regularly, and then at some point you may go all the way down to 5, and or maybe just defending yourself is where you're at in this practice, and you need to do a lot of repetitions of that. It's all good. It's all good. It's all about the practice and rededicating yourself to it, celebrating when you succeed, and not sweating it when you fail, in quotation marks. So some of the things that help you with this practice: spirit. Chat up spirit as often as you can, especially if you're in the bottom 3. Angels. Uriel is the kind of the archangel of this practice. But any other angel, Enenkel, Kalare, the angels of grace, the angels of peace. Grace is the theme of this month. And so, of course, what grace do I have? Because if you're at number 1 or number 2, where you're looking kind of saint-like in moments, that's a function of grace. And if you're in number 4, where you can send up a snorkel, where you're blocking out the world of hurt, that's a function of grace. And gratitude helps everything. So the other aid that may help in this is, of course, free will. Do dedicate yourself to this. Figure out what is my appropriate balanced use of free will in this matter. And lighten up. Lighten up, lighten up, lighten up. This can be a serious practice, and other people's viciousness and negativity comes in so many. It comes as criticism. It comes as complaint. It comes as projection. It comes as meddling in other people's process and judging. And so, full breath in. So may we meet all that with compassion by our standards. Some of the pitfalls of this. So inauthenticity is probably the biggest pitfall of this. You can't lie about it. You can't fake it. If you're trying to fake it, if you're holding essentially an artificial or a false positivity, that will come back to bite you. And not necessarily in a bad way. To me, false positivity is not a huge, terrible sin. And some people use it to use the thought of it as an attack or as a way to sell something. And mostly just protect yourself from that. You get it right in a way that works for you. The other potential pitfall for this is, of course, giving up. Hopelessness. So there's a lot of viciousness and a lot of negativity in this world. It's our job to learn how to transmute it and overcome it. And here are some substitutes. So we had those 5 main ways where you're kind of doing the practice in its pure form. This morning, sharing a little bit, I ran over a squirrel. I was driving 40 miles an hour, right at the speed limit, nice and steady, wasn't swerving. A young little squirrel ran out into the middle of the road, looked around, ran back. I thought I had missed him, and my back tire, I heard this meaty crunch. It was sad. I am still a little heartbroken about it. It's an authentic sadness. I would rather move through this world without causing any harm. Apparently, we can't do that. We're going to cause harm some way or another. The Native American tradition says you can't walk on the earth without bending a few blades of grass. And so may we get it right, whatever that looks like. Sadness is actually pure sadness that's not trapped in suffering, but it's just pure, poignant sadness is a gift of the divine. It's a blessing. It's actually a vibration of love. And so if you find yourself authentically sad, don't pressure yourself to feel positivity or to feel joy or to feel good. Just recognize that right now for me in this moment, what my love looks like, what my compassion looks like is authentic sadness. And that is that's a complete victory in maintaining your force field. If suffering has crept in, and some other day and time, we'll talk about separating suffering from sadness. But if you have poignant sadness, then that's the gift. Suffering is kind of what we want to avoid. Another substitute for this practice is, of course, humor. Earlier, we talked about a humor conversion where you can take trauma or you can take something that's difficult, and if you convert it with humor, you're doing a joy practice. And so that's a master alchemy in my book. And so if you're taking something and your version of love or compassion looks like converting it to humor, then by all means, convert it to humor and just enjoy. For me, there's a difference between snarkiness and funny humor, and that line shifts. It shifts for some people might think something is deeply funny, and some people might think it's snarky or cruel. And that's not our battle. What matters is, was it funny to you? And did it get you to where you need to go? And then about how you share it, that's a discussion for a different day. And then the last, we'll call it substitute for this practice, is one of the primary spiritual goals of any person, of any spiritual practice or evolution, is to diminish the triggers in your life, the things that set you over the edge, the versions of viciousness or negativity from the past that rob you of the present moment. And so if you are triggered, then consider it an opportunity to become aware of the fact that I'm triggered and I have a responsibility to learn how to heal. There isn't one path toward healing. It's different for every person at different spaces, different time, different amounts of grace, different lessons to be learned, different versions of trauma. And so if you catch yourself being triggered, don't worry so much about the viciousness and negativity practice, and change your practice with full appropriateness to, how do I heal this? And on that note, happy practicing.